My name is Billy Wright. Let's talk about 5 things Fire Emblem Switch can learn from Awakening. I love my Nintendo Switch, and currently it has some incredible games in development that we're all waiting patiently for. But if I was to tell you one game I'm most excited about playing, it would be Fire Emblem, which would be Intelligent Systems' first project for our favourite hybrid console. While we don't know much about this game other than the fact it will be released sometime next year, that doesn't stop us from discussing it. So I would like to do just that, with a mini-series discussing various topics around the game. And what better way to start this off than to discuss what I'd like to see return from the game that kickstarted the franchise to all new heights and allowed the series to be what it is today, Fire Emblem Awakening for the Nintendo 3DS. So without further ado, let's look at 5 things I'd like to see from this 3DS classic. Number 5. The graphical style. Like with a few other things on this list, the graphical style was not just unique to Awakening, but also seen in Fates and Echoes, and thus is very likely to be seen in the newest entry. But Awakening did it first, and I do generally think that this is one of the reasons why the game sold so well. It just looks stunning, with a fantastic mix of retro character sprite work and beautiful 3D rendered backgrounds. This is not to mention the fantastic 3D rendered anime style cutscenes spread throughout the campaign, which sadly wasn't seen to the same extent in Echoes, going for a more 2D animated approach. Given the Switch's HD capabilities, and you have yourself a game that could be easily one of the most beautiful games for the console, an accolade not easily given out, as the Switch already has got some fantastic visuals in its lineup. Number 4. Varied locations. Say what you will about the gameplay variation in Awakening and some of the level design, as compared to other games it was a tad poor, going with only route the enemy objectives for every bloody chapter. The actual locations in the game were fantastic. Granted, I haven't played Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn as of now, so I can't say if those games also included the vast variance in landscapes, but Awakening had some great locations. Whether you wanted to battle it out inside a skeleton of a long dead dragon, or climb up to meet your enemies in a gigantic tree, Awakening had it all, and it certainly made up for its lack in clever map design. I would love to see this in the Switch game, and for Intelligent Systems to really kick its creative juices going, instead of having to fight in the same bland field for the 50 millionth time. Maybe we could battle on the cliff edge, which crumbles each turn, or even on top of a dragon. Oh wait, they've already done that. Never mind. Number 3. A return to old lands. Apart from the direct sequels and remakes, Fire Emblem rarely stays in one location for each game, often creating a new continent and a new lore surrounding it to accompany its troupe of new and colourful characters. However, instead of setting up a new continent for Awakening, Intelligent Systems instead decided to go right back to its root, to locate its newest game and set up the story in Arcania and Valentia, the continents for which the very first 2 games in the series were set respectively. This allowed for a fresh new take on the location, and allowed it to tell the story of Crom and Lissa, who are the descendants of Marth from the very first game. Wouldn't it be fantastic to go back to Magvel and see the descendant of Sephirim or Erica, or to Regale to see what happens to the descendant of Owlboy Roy? Don't know if I pronounced those correctly, but oh well. Number 2. The world map screen. Again, this isn't the first game in the series to have implemented a map screen, nor is it the game I think did it the best. But alas, it's... You right, Jess? Again, this isn't the first game of the series to have implemented a map screen, nor is it the game I think did it best. But alas, it still had one, and I found it hard to think of 5 things to bring over from Awakening, just because of how few things it did differently that benefited the franchise. Yes, I'm looking at you, difficulty settings. But alas, it still had a fantastic inclusion in Awakening that benefited the player by allowing you to travel round to different shops to freely purchase items, and be able to freely explore the world to enter battles to gain experience for slightly weaker units. It also added to the storytelling, as it allowed you to locate each battle on the map far easily, and allowed you to see just how far the party had travelled across the world. While I will say that Echoes easily did this all better than Awakening, it certainly did it well, and something I'll be happy to see included in the Switch game. even if I'd prefer it to be more like the aforementioned Echo's World, but more on that in a later video. So that brings us on to number 1, children. Yes, one of the biggest new mechanics introduced in this game was the children mechanic, which actually was taken from one of the old Super Nintendo titles, Genealogy of the Holy War. But again, this video is about Awakening, so I'm talking about the Awakening version of this mechanic. Yes, it's maybe a relatively controversial mechanic in the community, partly because of how it was implemented, spawned the phrase waifu emblem, from the fact that you could marry 2 of your favourite characters, provided they're of course the opposite gender. And they would then produce children characters which you could then recruit through a guide and chapter. If you knew your stuff and could work the system, so to speak, you could end up getting powerful characters through this mechanic, and with incredible skills and growth rates, provided they could give a good enough reason story-wise to bring this mechanic in, and not just tell us that the children were brought up in some Pocket Dragon universe bullshit. Fates! Then I could see this mechanic working in a Switch game, provided they make a few tweaks to the system. So what do you think of my list? Are there any more mechanics or other such things you would like to see return from Awakening? Please comment below and let me know generally what you think of my content. Next time I'll be looking at 5 things Fire Emblem Switch could learn from Fates, and probably a few things it could probably avoid. So for the best chance of seeing that and any future content on this channel, subscribe by clicking that button below. My name is Billy, hope you have a cracking